The Wonderware Historian Client Trends is a client application that allows you to query tags from a Wonderware Historian database and plot them on a graphical display. After you add tags to the trend chart, you can manipulate them, for example, doing panning, zooming, and scaling. There are some options that allow you to configure individual trends and others that allow you to configure all of them at the same time. Remember that before running trend, you must have your historian server running and you should have valid credentials. Depending on your operating system, the access to historian trend will be different. Here in my engineering station, I go to my Metro UI and I have a tile for trend. The first time you connect to your historian client trend, you will get the server list configuration dialog box where you can enter the information to connect to different historian servers. You can have more than one historian server information here. On the server field, you enter the node name where your historian is running. Then, under the authentication information area, you have two options. You can either use your Windows credentials, that is, use integrated security, or you can enter your own user and password. Then we have the timeouts in seconds. In this area, you configure timeouts for the connection to the historian server and a timeout for the query. How long are you going to wait for the query to run? The valid ranges are from 1 to 600 seconds. And then under the use HTTP area, the system is giving you an alternative to connect the client to the historian server using HTTP instead of using a traditional network protocol such as TCP. After you have entered your configuration information, you click Add. And here we have our server listed. You have the option to log off or to remove it. If I log off, notice that the font of the node name will change. Now it's italic. If I log back on, it's normal. So this is like a visual indication when you have a lot of servers listed to know which ones you are logged in. So I'll click Close. And here we are. Now the main areas here are the tag picker, which is a common control that we will find in other clients as well. The tag list, where all the tags that you are trending will be listed. The chart area, where all your trends will be displayed. And then we have the toolbars. We have the main toolbar, the scaling toolbar, the time toolbar, the tag display toolbar, and the status bar. Now the tag picker is a control found in other clients, and that allows you to navigate between the different historian nodes and find the tags that you are looking for. Now, how do you add a tag to the chart? Well, you can double click on it, or you can drag and drop. If you want to add more than one at the same time, you can hold the Control key, select them, and drag them and drop them. If you want to delete them from the chart, you can use the Delete key from your keyboard. You can right-click on them and select Delete. Or if you don't want to delete them permanently and leave them here in the tag list for future use, you can uncheck one of these boxes and bring them back later on. Now, depending on how many tags you are historizing, finding a tag in this list can be very difficult. So the tag picker gives you different tools to facilitate this task. First, if you expand the name of your server, you will find two groups, the public and private groups. If you expand further the public groups, you will find the default classification of historian by analog summary tags, analog tags, discrete tags, and notice that every time I click in one of these groups, the tags list gets updated. If you are historizing data from an InTouch application, you can expand the InTouch nodes folder, and here you have the node names where those applications are running. Right now, I have only one, and if I select it, I can see the tags that are being historized from that InTouch application. Then we have replication sources, then the system status tags. If you are interested, for example, on the errors on your local machine, then you select it, and here we have all the system tags that are error related. And finally, if you are historizing attributes from a galaxy, you will find the name of your galaxy here, and if you expand it, you are going to see the model view, meaning you can see all the areas, and if you expand those areas, you can actually see your objects and see which attributes are being historized on each of them. Notice that we can see here the tag name. What happens if you are interested on the hierarchical name? Well, you can right-click anywhere on the tag picker and select the option Use Hierarchical Name. And here we have it. Now another way to find the tags is by using the tabs here on the bottom of the tags list. Notice that right now the All tab is selected, but we can select Analog, Discrete, Event, Analog Summary, and State Summary. All these tabs will update the results that you have on the tags list. So if I go back here and select my server, notice that if I select analogs or discretes or strings, the list gets updated. You must be careful when you use these tabs because they work in combination with your filtering in the servers pane. Meaning, if I select, for example, the discrete tab, and then I come here to the servers pane and I select event tags, I'm getting nothing. Why? Because I am asking the system, give me all the tags that are discrete and event at the same time. And finally, if I right-click anywhere here on the tag picker, I have the option to bring the filter pane. This filter pane will allow you to search tags within all your servers. So I select here my server, I select here on the tabs all tags, and let's run some examples. So under the server name, I'm going to leave the name of my historian server. The second field is hierarchical name. This one will change according to whether you have this option selected or not. If I uncheck the use hierarchical name, then now it will be tag name. So I want to look for tags that have the word disk on them. If I click here, apply, notice that all the tags have the word disk on them. I could also use the description or IO address to look for them. And we have here the exact match checkbox. If I select exact match here, I will get nothing because I don't have an actual tag that is called disk. If I click apply, it will be empty. However, if I select disk percentage, where the percentage sign represents any string of 0 or more characters, and I click apply, I will have a list of all the tags that start with the word disk because my percentage is at the end and I'm looking for an exact match. I will change this wildcard for the underscore. The underscore represents a single character. And from this list, I only want the tags that have the word sec on them. Click apply. And notice that I have now my disk1 sec, disk2 sec, and disk5 sec. Now let's refine this search a little more. I want my character to be a value between 1 and 4. So I replace this underscore for a square parenthesis, 1-4, close parenthesis, and let's apply it. Notice that my disk5 sec will disappear. And finally, let's try the opposite. I want everything except the ones that have the character 1 to 4 there. So I will add a caret, apply it, and now the result is down to 1 tag. If you want to further customize the appearance of your trend, you can right-click on it and select Configure. Here you can change the pen color, the width, the style, value axis range. By default, these are the values configured originally on the tag on the historian server side. Type, this is the interpolation type. By default is auto, but you can select step line, which is the same as a stair step, or line, which is the same as linear. Or you can select point, which means no interpolation. We are going to see only the data points that are read from the database. If I click apply, here we go. I can see my changes so far. I can also change the decimal places. It can go from 0.00 to 100.00 if I select 2, like this. And I can change the format from decimal to scientific. So let's click OK here. And there are another set of tools that are very interesting that will help us on reading the values from the trend. These are called the axis cursors. We have two different axis cursors, value and time. This red line that you see here is one of the time cursors. The other one is this blue line. Notice these two labels on the top. The first one reads the value of the tag on the red time cursor, and the second line, the blue one, read the value of the tag on the blue time cursor. So if I move the blue, notice that that value is gonna get updated. Same with the red one. And here on the right side, we have a number in the units of the variable and a duration. So the system here is telling me what is the difference in value between the variable, for example, here, where I can see a peak, and the value here where I see a minimum. It's telling me there are 100 liters of difference, and the difference in time between these two cursors is 0 days, 0 hours, 2 minutes, and 18 seconds. The other two cursors are the value cursors. If you want to disable the time cursors, here on the main toolbar we have a button called Show or Hide the Time Axis Cursor. So if I click here, they are gone. If I want to bring them back, click again. Here we have also the option to show or hide the value axis cursors. These ones are both green. And notice that now we have on the right side a line that is telling me the value of the cursor number 1 and the value of the cursor number 2 and the difference between them. So notice if I start moving the cursor number 2, the value is going to be changing and it's telling me which one is the difference between both of them. Now let's add a new tag to the chart. And notice that the more tags we add, the more difficult can be to differentiate one tag from the other. So we can use the highlight tag tool here in the main toolbar. If I select it, my tag is going to be highlighted. If I change, my selected tag is going to be highlighted. Now, if you want more space for your chart, you can, again, here in the main toolbar, show or hide the tag list and show or hide the tag picker. So now you have the full screen just for your chart. You can also remove the grid. So here we have the option to remove the horizontal grid and the vertical grid. In a situation like this, for example, where the tag list is hidden and you cannot select the tag, you can use here in the main toolbar the Move to the Next Tag button, and notice that it will start moving between the different tags that we have in the tag list. Now we have also the Move to Previous Tag to go back. Let's talk about the time toolbar. Here we have 3 fields, one for the start, date and time, another one for the duration, and a third one for the end date and time. Now, if I select the duration, for example, notice that a blue halo appears around the start date and time, meaning this field is going to be updated automatically with whatever change I do in the duration. So for example, if I change the duration from 5 minutes to 10 minutes, notice that the timestamp for the start will change. The end one didn't change at all. Now let's try changing the start date and time. So I select this one and the halo goes around the end date and time, meaning the duration will remain the same. So notice that right now it's 10 minutes. If I change this to 5, the chart updated, the end date and time updated, but the duration remained the same. Now in this side we have a set of tools to do panning. So we have the pan the trend to the left, pan the trend to the right, go to the current time. So if I select this one, it will come to now. And finally we have the live or replay mode. This one is very interesting because it will allow us to see the historized data like if it was in real time. So for example, if I go back here to 8 a.m. and my duration is still 10 minutes, notice that my end time is 8:35 a.m. Now I'm going to enable the live or replay mode and notice that the trend starts updating. Now if I want to see this faster, because this is 8 a.m. and right now it's already night and I want to see all my data from the last 8 hours within 30 minutes, I can change the speed. So here I have 1x. We can go all the way to 128x. So let's go 8x. And notice that the data starts going faster. All right, let's disable it. And then we have the zoom in and zoom out buttons. Now if I zoom in, notice that it's zooming in the time axis. If I zoom out, it's again on the time axis. Now if you need to modify the value axis, then you are going to be modifying the scaling of the tag. And here on the scaling toolbar, we have a set of functions that will allow you to modify the scaling for each tag individually. And then another set that has exactly the same functions, but that will affect all the trends that are displayed in the chart. So let's move to the next tag to select the level. And the first button is to move the current tag up. The next one is move the current tag down. We can change it back to its original scale. We can auto scale the current tag. So notice that it will find the best fit in the current chart area. The scale the current tag up will basically zoom in the value axis. And the scale the current tag down will zoom out from the value axis. Now the same set of functions is also available to apply in all the trends in the chart. So we have the move all the tags up, move all the tags down, scale all the tags to the original scale. This is whatever is configured on the historian server. Auto scale all tags so the system will find the best fit for whatever data we are displaying. Scale all the tags up and scale all the tags down. And then we have the rubber band. There are two buttons, one to enable it and apply it to a single tag, and one to apply it to all tags. So let's enable it. And I can drag my cursor and select a big area here to zoom in. And I can keep doing this zooming as much as I want to see as much detail as possible in my graphic. Now to go back, I'll scale all tags to the original scale, and then I'll change the duration to the 10 minutes. And then you have to disable it, otherwise your cursor will always be on rubber band mode. So let's disable it. Then for the next function, I will show the tag list again. And we have here in the main toolbar the option to enable or disable single tag mode. So if I enable it, only the tag that is selected will be displayed on the chart. And then I can select other ones in my tag list. Now we disable it, and the next function is to stack the tag traces. Right now, all the tags are sharing the same chart space. And we have multiple scales here on the value axis, one scale per each tag. If we want to split the chart area in sections and have assigned one section to each tag, we can use this function. So if I click on the stack the tag traces, notice that now I have 3 sections and each section will have one of the tags displayed. So let's click again to disable it. So what if you want to see exactly the data that is being displayed here? You are looking at it in a graphical way, but you want to see the actual values read from the database. Well, we have the data log function. There is a narrow format data log that will give us the list of tags in narrow format. And we have the data log in wide format. So here we have one column for each tag. Now, if you want to see statistical information of the tags that you are displaying, you can use the trend statistics function. And this one will display some basic information such as the maximum, the minimum, the average of whatever data you have displayed on the chart. And finally, we have the annotations. If you are monitoring your process and you see some data that you would like to review later on, you can take an annotation. So you right-click as close as you can to the data point you are interested, and you select Add Annotation. Now the tag field is telling you to which tag this annotation is going to be related. The time is the timestamp for the closest data point, and here on the text field you can enter your comment. Then on the visibility you can select private or public, where private means only you or someone that is using your credentials will be able to see this annotation. So we click OK, and notice that now we have a blue dot. This blue dot is the indication of an annotation, and if the mouse is over it, you can see the details of the annotation. Now, if you want to see all the annotations that are in your chart, the main toolbar has the Annotation List button. And here you can see all the annotations with details such as the tag name, the content, the user that entered the annotation, the timestamp of the data point, and when the annotation was created. So far, we have worked with regular trend curves. However, the historian client trend allows you to use a different chart type called the XY scatter plot. A scatter plot is considered one of the 7 basic tools of quality because it allows you to visually understand the relationship between two variables. You can see the direction of the relationship and whether or not they have outliers. So let's create a new trend here. I will show my tag picker again, clear my filter so I can see all my tags. And now we are going to select a couple of tags here. They are called React Level and React Temp. Now these two tags are monitoring the conditions of my reactor, the level and the temperature. And we are interested in seeing how these two variables relate to each other. So we go to the chart menu, chart type, and select XY scatter plot. Now we right-click on one of the variables, go to Configure, and in the General tab we have a new field called X-axis tag. So here we select the second tag and click OK. So here we have the graphic that is characterizing the relationship between the level and the temperature in my reactor. If we know that this is an stable process, that it should be repeating itself all the time, this graphic will be very useful on monitoring that the process stays within those desired conditions. Now notice that we have a red area here and it's difficult to see, so for demonstration purposes I'm going to change this color to green, and now we can see it better. This red area here on the top of the graphic is showing me that one of the variables has gone beyond some defined alarm limits, and this is being read from the configuration of the tag. So we have configured some alarming limits and here we can see them. Now if I enable the live mode, we can see how these two tags are actually following each other. Okay, so let's change this chart back to trend and let's review a new menu. If I right click on my chart, I have a context menu where I have options to delete a trend, add an annotation, show or hide the tag list, open my statistics, open my data log in narrow or wide format, and go to the properties. So let's explore the properties. So here we can change some standard settings. For example, in the General tab, we can change the live mode and how often it is refreshing. How often do we want to refresh the whole chart? And if we want to configure some printing settings. Under the Colors tab, we can change the background color, the plot area, the borders, the grid, which color do we want to use to highlight. So let's change it for this color here. The pen width when we are highlighting. For the axis, we can change the number of values per axis and the grid lines that we are using, as well as the cursor settings. So remember we have two cursors, the time cursor and the value cursor. Well, for both of them, we can change the colors, width, and style here. Limits. As we saw, if we have these alarm limits configured, they are going to show on the chart. So here we can change the colors, width, and styles for each of the different alarm types. Annotations, so if I want to show annotations for only the tags on the trend or all the tags available, if I want to show the public annotations, if I want to show annotations for all users. For the XY scatter plot, right now it's grayed out because we are not in an XY scatter plot chart. But here we can customize it. Target regions, we will look at them later on. So let's click OK. And now we are ready to start some practice.